Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're exploring a truly fascinating case. Think about the last time you retweeted or forwarded a post without even a second thought. I mean, we all do it, right? But what if? Could that single casual click be mathematically proven to cause a massive societal avalanche? Well, today we are looking at an incredible situation where multiple advanced AI models evaluated an unprecedented legal defense, one based entirely on science, mathematics, and philosophy. Dr. Chen Jinyuan's approach here was so uniquely analytical, it literally demands a deep dive. So, can quantum physics and complex math theorems actually be used to fight a legal charge? It's a pretty provocative question. Normally, you bring a lawyer to a courtroom, definitely not a quantum physicist. But here is the setup for us. Dr. Chen was accused of causing serious public disorder just by forwarding a few social media posts to an account with fewer than 100 followers. The prosecution argued this tiny action directly caused macro-level chaos. But rather than arguing the facts the traditional way, Dr. Chen took a totally different and honestly brilliant path. Instead of relying on standard legal precedents, Dr. Chen mounted a sweeping, multidisciplinary defense. And when AI models, we're talking ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Grok, actually analyzed his arguments, they evaluated his defense as logically profound. Now, it's not without its specific limitations when applied strictly to the law, as we'll see, but he essentially put the very nature of reality, digital networks, and truth itself on trial. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the legal charge, then move right through Gödel's incompleteness theorems, the physics of social networks, scale-free network science, the philosophies of causality, and finally wrap up with how all of this hardcore science actually meets the law.
All right, part one, the legal charge. The prosecution's claim here was completely straightforward. They stated that Dr. Chen intentionally forwarded false information and that this action actively and directly caused a severe disruption of public order.
To fight this, Dr. Chen went straight to epistemology. Part 2, Gödel and absolute truth. He essentially raised a massive philosophical question for the court. Can anyone truly know that a forwarded theoretical post is absolutely false? Enter Kurt Gödel's famous 1931 theorem. Put simply, Gödel proved mathematically that any logical system has inherent blind spots. Basically, human knowledge is always inherently incomplete. So, Dr. Chen argued that it's logically impossible to knowingly spread a definitive falsehood because absolute certainty, well, that's a mathematical impossibility. In his view, no theoretical or political statement can ever be definitively labeled as an absolute truth or an absolute rumor. But the AI models analyzing this highlighted a massive cross-disciplinary leap here. While Gödel beautifully proves that absolute proof is impossible in formal mathematics, the law, well, it doesn't operate on mathematical absolutes. A courtroom relies on practical certainty or a reasonable person standard. So the AI analysis points out that taking a theorem from formal logic and applying it directly to criminal intent is a brilliant philosophical stance on epistemic humility, absolutely. But it has severe limits in a practical, everyday legal framework. So what about the physical mechanics of the internet itself? Part 3. The physics of social networks. Dr. Chen zooms out from the individual user to the macro level to examine if a single guy with under 100 followers can actually cause system-wide disorder. To explain this, Dr. Chen utilized physicist per box 1987 sandpile model, which illustrates a concept called self-organized criticality. Think of a toddler slowly stacking blocks. Eventually, the tower becomes so unstable that just one more block brings the whole shebang crashing down. The AI analysis of Dr. Chen's defense actually confirms his physics is rock solid here. The avalanche is caused by the system's unstable, accumulated state, not the unique power of that final single block. Or, in this specific case, a single user dropping a metaphorical grain of sand. And this leads us to a really powerful summary. The true danger comes from the system approaching a critical state, not the individual's action. If forwarding a post to a few dozen people somehow triggers a massive societal avalanche, well, the responsibility objectively lies with the system's pre-existing fragility. Dr. Chen argued that shifting the blame to a peripheral user is just scientifically inaccurate. The digital environment itself was already a ticking time bomb. Moving on to part 4, scale-free network science. Let's look at the actual underlying architecture of the internet and how a post structurally travels from point A to point B. In network physics, M represents the average number of new branches, or shares, that a post gets. For a viral avalanche to happen at all, m absolutely must be greater than 1. Now, because Dr. Chen had very few followers and near zero interaction, his m value was a tiny, tiny fraction. In physics terms, this is called a deep subcritical state. The math proves that the probability of his post causing a cascade statistically approached absolute zero. It was literally a mathematical dead end. This beautifully illustrates the reality of your daily social media feeds. Influence is completely lopsided. AI analysis using physicist Reuven Cohen's critical threshold formula confirms that peripheral nodes, which, let's be honest, is 99% of us, have virtually zero structural impact. You could remove millions of average users and the network would barely even flinch. This system is extremely robust against random noise at the edges. Only massive hub nodes have the geometric capability to actually crash the system. Part 5. Philosophies of Causality. Okay, so we've looked at the math and the physics. Now we have to examine the actual cause and effect relationship. Did action A actually cause result B? To really evaluate cause and effect, the AI systematically tested Dr. Chen's actions against 4 distinct frameworks. We have David Hume's regularity theory, David Lewis's counterfactual theory, modern probabilistic models, and standard legal proximate cause. Let's see if the charge actually holds up under scrutiny. So, under Hume's theory, causality requires A and B to always happen together, but there is absolutely no historical data showing that an account with 50 followers forwarding a post reliably causes public chaos, so that fails. Under Lewis's counterfactual but for test, we ask, if Dr. Chen hadn't forwarded the post, would the outcome be different? Nope. The network remains exactly the same, so that fails too. Finally, under legal proximate cause, an action with a near zero statistical chance of creating danger just isn't the substantial cause of macro-level chaos. Fails again. Across all these logical frameworks, the causal link just snaps. Finally, Part 6. Science meets the law. We've seen exactly how Dr. Chen brought multiple disciplines together, but how do we impartially reflect on this tension? The AI models summarizing this case pointed to a really profound structural tension. Our traditional legal systems are highly centralized and linear, right? They want a clear action that directly results in a consequence. But the internet is a scale-free, distributed, nonlinear, complex system. It is inherently noisy and constantly fluctuating. Attempting to impose linear judicial order onto a naturally unordered digital system, well, that leads to a severe mismatch in logic. The definitive scientific takeaway from the AI's analysis is this. In a complex system, the perturbation of a peripheral node will be drowned out by system noise. Meaning, in massive networks, micro-actions from the absolute edges are statistically irrelevant to macro-level behavior. They're just drowned out. Claiming otherwise totally ignores the foundational physics of how networks actually operate. So as our world becomes more interconnected, mathematically complex, and nonlinear, how will our linear legal frameworks adapt? Dr. Chen's defense, utilizing everything from Gödel's math to the Galton-Watson branching process, shows us that the laws of physics and the laws of the courtroom are currently speaking two entirely different languages. It's a fascinating look at the absolute limits of causality. I really hope this explainer has given you a clear, structured understanding of this incredible multidisciplinary intersection. Keep questioning the complex systems around you.